Hi, I'm Ray Will here with this week's interview chair brought to you by Canine Chronicle TV and Dog Show Tips. This week on the chair, we have Anders Rosell from Avatar Poodles. This should be very interesting. Hi, everybody. Will here with this week's interview chair. And this week on the chair, we have none other than Anders Rosell from Avatar Standard Poodles from Spain. I didn't know you were in Spain, Anders. I'm sorry. I didn't
That's
keep up
all
with it.
right.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good.
It's good to see you. How's the weather in Spain?
The weather is always good, pretty much always good in Spain. Where I live, we have around 320 sun days per year.
Wow.
So I'm not complaining.
I bet. See, here where I am now, I'm in Ontario. What's starting to think about? It's fall here for sure, and you can tell it's starting to think about winter. So,
yeah. Well, I don't want to be nasty, but it's 28 degrees here now.
It's not 28 degrees in my house.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get started. I want to know everything. I want everybody to know everything about Anders. So tell me, how did you get started, and how old were you when you got started in this crazy sport of dogs?
Well, believe it or not, I celebrate 50 years in this game. I was 13 years old when I got my first summer job in Sweden. I started to work for a local kennel that bred American Cockers, but also had German short-haired pointers, as well as flat-coated retrievers.
Oh, okay.
And I was mainly into the American Cockers, but fell madly in love with the German short-haired pointers.
How old were you then when you worked at that kennel, Anders?
13 years old.
13, okay.
Yeah, but I was totally into animals, mesmerized by animals all my life, pretty much. But as a child, I grew up in a family with animal-loving mother and also a grandmother, and the grandkids spent a lot of their time with our grandmother, and she was reading through books of the lioness Elsa, and I think she's partly responsible for my interest in animals. And my grandfather was a horse breeder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so animals has always been a part of my life. And my grandmother
that tends to go hand in hand. Horse breeders and dogs tend to, at some point, collide. So
yes, he was breeding those huge working horses. He was a farmer, and he used the horses out in the woods.
Wow. So how did your purebred dog world get started? You were at the kennel at 13. You fell in love with. No.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a kennel. I was working for the kennel.
No, you were at the kennel. You were working in a kennel at 13. Yeah.
Sure. Yes, I was. And I managed to. There was an American Cocker bitch being returned to this specific kennel, and because the owners were divorcing, and I had a pact with my mother that maybe this bitch could move in. My father was severely asthmatic, and he was allergic to dogs. According to the tests he had done, he actually had to move away from the farm where his father was breeding horses because he was way too allergic. And my mother and I managed to smuggle this American Cocker into our home, and Fortunately, he never reacted, and that bitch stayed for 13 years. And she was my start. And I didn't show her because she was not a great example of the breed, but I managed to finish her as an obedience trial champion. And she was one of the first American cockers to finish the obedience trial championship in Sweden, believe it or not. So it's quite some time ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in the show world then?
I was already involved with it, but
Okay.
I was doing that on a parallel level. But my father took me and my brother to a dog show already in 1972, and I was still very young, and I showed field spaniels, I showed Cavalier King Charles spaniels. And then I got involved with the poodles, and I had there was friends of my family that bred their miniature poodle bitch, and they had asked me if I could show the pick bitch in the litter, and that's how I got involved with a groomer on the west coast of Sweden, and she became my mentor, and that was really the start of me showing poodles.
Yeah, because you really just can't walk into showing poodles. You have to do some previous work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had no idea how much work it involved. But I said to this woman who was a groomer that I want to show this bitch and I want to groom her myself. And she just laughed at me and said, "Yeah, all right, okay. How many years do you have in order to learn how to groom a poodle properly?" I had no idea what it involved, but I started as a grooming student under this woman, and
What was the woman's name?
her name was Monica Danielsson. She had the Swedish bus kennels, and
Okay.
she bred miniatures, and she used to work in the UK under a fairly famous poodle person by the name of Marilyn Willis of the Springett Kennels. You know, maybe you've heard of Bibula, Tall, Dark, and Handsome.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he was actually being campaigned when Monica was working with or for Marilyn. So
Wow.
she was certainly involved and was a show groomer at that time. Yes. Still a good friend. Still comes to visit me in Spain.
Oh, excellent! Very good.
Yeah.
So carry on.
That was the start of that, and then I had another friend wanted to buy a standard poodle bitch, and so she did, and she wanted my help to groom this bitch. And at that time, we're now talking the 70s, early 80s. I was not very keen on the standard poodles that we had in Scandinavia back then, and I was more into the minis. But when this bitch came to be groomed at 6 months of age, I just fell madly in love with her. She was such a beautiful package, had the most incredible temperament, and she was later bred from, and that she became the foundation bitch of all my dogs, and all of my dogs go back to this particular bitch. So that was the start of my very small hobby breeding of standard poodles.
Oh, who does this bitch go back to? Your foundation bitch.
This bitch goes back to all Scandinavian stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with a woman by the name of Margaret Veer of the Racketeer Kennels. She imported a very important dog from the UK by the name of Leander Midnight Cowboy, bred by the legendary Wendy Stretfield. And this dog was behind my bitch as well, or this bitch that became the foundation. And I later bred her or for her first litter, I bred her to a dog by the name of Eton Kingstown, who was the first champion offspring side by the very famous champion Eton Affirmed.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the start of my breeding, and I worked on from there, breeding slowly and only when I want to continue the family. Not a big breeder at all. I see myself as a hobby breeder.
Yeah. But you were exhibiting at the same time?
Oh God, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Who mentored you at the dog shows then? Like it's like it's not easy just like you had your mentor or your grooming mentor. Did she also mentor you to show dogs?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
I also there were when I came into the poodle world. I must say that the people were so welcoming. They were so helpful, and they they must have seen that I had some sort of talent because I was surrounded by all these women wanting to help me. And they were all so generous, I only have good things to say. I think that is one of the reasons why I have been so happy in my breed and stayed in my breed, not only for the love of the breed, but you know what it's like if you feel welcomed and if people take care of you and show interest and nurture that interest. It's so important.
There's no question. But I think good breeders recognize enthusiasm and they want to nurture
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, they
Absolutely.
really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we all have those people in our lives that just helped us, even without them really knowing they helped us, but they wanted to help us. So.
Well, of course, and being able to speak English, of course, opened doors and to travel. And I met the same kind of people in other countries.
So were you exhibiting in other countries across Europe as well then?
Well, back then, Sweden was a fairly isolated country. There were quarantine restrictions to the European continent and to other parts of the world. The only country where we could bring dogs in from without any quarantine was the UK, as well as Australia, believe it or not. And we could also transport dogs between Norway and Finland, but Denmark was not part of that block, which meant that if I wanted to travel to Denmark, when I got back into Sweden, the dog had to sit in a quarantine for 4 months.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so
Wow.
we were very isolated. The Nordic countries, the Nordic countries, except for Denmark, were very isolated. So yes, of course, I was going to shows in Norway, not as much Finland because that's quite far away from me living in the southern part of Sweden or growing up in the southern part of Sweden. And believe it or not, Denmark was only 2.5 hours away. And I still couldn't take dogs there because of the quarantine restrictions. And of course, it was expensive to get them back.
Sure. Who was the first dog you had success with in the show ring?
It was a miniature dog. I showed coming down from the English Locranza lines, and he was among the top few miniatures in the country. And believe it or not, he is behind the family of miniatures I have right now. I have an 18 months old or 20 months old miniature poodle bitch here right now. And he's actually behind her in her 20th generation. So they all go back to him. But he was the start. And
You find something, you stick with it, don't you? You find something you like, and you stick with it.
Yeah, well, I think it's coincidence, to be honest with you, but it's quite interesting, really, that he's behind this particular bitch or the family of miniatures that I have right now. But he was pretty much the start, and then
Yeah.
I got involved with this standard poodle bitch and her daughter and granddaughter and you name it. So and they were all among the top few in Sweden back then.
Okay.
in their
Did you?
breed.
Who was the first dog that? Because you've had so many dogs with your prefix that have been successful all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? Like, how did I know about obviously about Vonnie because I showed Vonnie here in Ontario in Canada,
Correct. Yeah.
but all over the world you've had success.
Well, yes, but being such a such a hobby breeder from Sweden, it was sort of unbelievable that it happened. But I back in the early 90s, I organized a trip for the Swedish Poodle Club over to the Poodle Club of America show, which then was held at Ludwig's Corner. And I started to make contact with a lot of American and also Canadian breeders, and that was the start of what later became an exchange between me and the American breeders on a very limited scale. Yeah, and. I also had American friends coming over to Sweden. One of them was Jennifer Deggy of Degana Standard Poodles. And she became interested in my dogs. And I also must mention that at that time, I was also the editor and the producer of a magazine, the Poodle magazine, the Scandinavian Poodle magazine. That opened up so many doors to not only the US, but the entire world. And my dog started to become famous through that a forum or that magazine. But anyway, through Jennifer Deggy, I got in contact with a woman by the name of Mary Linda Yiki, and she wanted to use a very young Avatar Concord. And Avatar Concord, I sent semen over to Mary Linda Yiki, and she had a litter of 10. And one of those boys from that litter became winner's dog at PCA. And oh my, it was just an explosion.
Well, your family of dogs, Avatar, definitely have a specific look. Like you can pick them out, even if they're not direct from you. You can still pick out an Avatar standard poodle, and it's for a hobby breeder, you've sure stamped your mark on your family of dogs. So
yeah, I know what I like, and I know what I'm drawn to.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and
so let's go back.
Yeah.
We're getting too far ahead, I think.
Yeah.
So you've been you showed the miniature poodle to some success, and you've already been starting breeding Avatar at that point.
Yeah.
When did you meet Stephen?
Oh, that happened a lot. Well, I shouldn't say a lot later, but that happened late 90s. I was, the very famous and another mentor of mine, Tim Brasher.
Yes.
The very famous handler.
Good Canadian boy.
Oh, yeah. And a bitch that he was involved with had been sent to Sweden. And I was asked who I would have bred that bitch to, and I suggested Concord. And so this bitch was bred to Concord, and she was sent in whelp to Australia, where her American owner lived. And she gave birth, and Tim asked me, would you like to go to Australia? And I said, of course I would like to go to Australia. And so we stayed with the American breeder, and she organized a party. And Stephen walked in, and that was the start of that. And I had no idea who he was, and I just heard people saying there will be a famous Afghan breeder here. You may know of him. His name is Stephen Wheeler. And I said, no, I never heard his name. And I had also, as a fairly young young man seen or read articles written by the famous Bo Bengtsson. And he had published a photo of an Afghan bitch that he had judged at Westminster. And I was totally mesmerized by that photo. You know, us nerds, we can look at photos and just admire dogs for the way we do. Anyway,
I still do.
Yeah. Me too. And anyway, I was so inspired by that photo, and we were having dinner. We were sitting across from each other, and I was just trying to impress this Afghan breeder and say I had seen this fantastic Afghan bitch in a photo in my early days, and I said her name was Jacosta Balenciaga. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, "Have you seen that bitch?" And he looked at me and said, "Well, actually I have. I bred her." So that was the start of our relationship, and it lasted for 22 years.
And Stephen seemed to get the poodles as well. So
yes, he was handling poodles in Australia. So he was he did not have any poodles himself. Well, he had a miniature, but he didn't show them actively. But he was handling standard poodles mainly for other breeders. So he knew of me, but I didn't know of him.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you two met at this dinner. So there's more to this story, Anders.
Of course, there is more to that story, and I certainly hadn't planned a long-distance relationship, but we hit off and had fantastic chemistry, no doubt. And he then wanted to come and visit me in Sweden to see if that was a place on this planet where he could manage the cold and live. And so rather than
It's funny you said that because now you're in Spain, but
yes, but that happened a lot later. But the climate certainly affected him after a while. But anyway, he came to Sweden, and he was ready for something new in his life, and that's why he decided to come and move to Sweden and live with me. And he was so keen on the poodles. At that point, I had been doing poodles for so long, so I had lost a little bit of motivation. So he was certainly an injection, no doubt.
Yeah, that does help.
Yes, it does.
Did he bring Afghans with him?
He brought in an Afghan male, but we didn't continue with him. He after several years with the poodles, he then got inspired again, and through a dog that I was totally smitten by, and showed or handled at one of the big sighthound shows in Sweden. And Stephen then took this dog on and piloted him to Top Afghan in Sweden.
Which dog was that? Would I know of this dog?
It's a dog. It's a dog by the name of Aviva Kerr. He has signed many top winners. He was also winner's dog at the Afghan National in the USA 1 year. And he's also sired Dog of the Year in Russia, and down on the European continent, he's had several top dogs. We bred to him ourselves, and kept the pick male from that, and he was Top Afghan in Sweden. But that was Stephen's last Afghan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. He decided poodles.
Well, he decided no more Afghans. I'm done. He had his fair share of them and decided no more Afghans. He then turned to the miniatures and said, Anders, we're getting old. Maybe we should get more miniatures.
I have to admit, I when the miniatures came to kennel to be shown, I was like, oh, thank God.
A lot easier for sure. A lot easier for sure. I mean, we spent so much time in the bathtub, and me coming home from work, and you just had to go out to the dog room and start bathing dogs and scissoring dogs. So
it's nonstop. It's a commitment. There's no question.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. Yeah. But I have been involved. I was involved with the miniatures before I got into the standards. But the standards took over my life, and I still have standards. But I'm mainly focused on the miniatures now.
Yeah, but there's nothing like a black standard poodle. There's just something about them. And for me, it's the bitches. I don't know. There's something about them. They just grab me. So
well, Will, I'm totally biased. Yes, I'm with you.
Well, I had no idea that I would be involved with poodles the way I did, because I married into it when I married Alice, and we just ended up having poodles everywhere, and I just love them. I just love them. I'd be out running and working them all the time. So
of course.
This isn't about me. I'm sorry.
No.
But you made me think.
Easy dogs to live with. I mean, with the Afghans. It's a totally different type of scenario. You need to organize things around you to make it work in a completely different ways. With back in Sweden, we lived out in the forest. I could just take the poodles for a walk in the forest without even having to worry about it. It was easy. A bit more complicated with the Afghans.
Yes.
It didn't work.
There's a couple I've shown over the years I know that would come back right away. Others I know they wouldn't.
No.
So
no. And I mean, you have shown Afghans successfully.
Yeah. And there's a couple in my mind that stick out that I know I'd have no issues with. Come on, they'd come along with me. But the other ones be like, see ya.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh well.
This Afghan male that we were so successful with, the Aviva dog, he was a phenomenal dog. But he jumped the fence, ran into the neighbor, and the door was always open. And he checked out the kitchen if there was any food, and if there was no food, he jumped back in.
I can see that. A couple of dogs I've had. I can see that.
Yeah, he was probably rather rare for being an Afghan, but he probably went into our kitchen to see if there was any food there instead.
I remember a dog I showed for Cheryl Wallach, actually Kiefer's sire, Baxter. He would break out of things to find toys, and then he'd take them back to where he broke out of. So
yes, no, the Afghans are special.
They are. Mm. All right, so let's carry on. So you're still in Sweden. Steven's with you now, and you're breeding some standard poodles and miniatures at this point.
No, we didn't. We were mainly focusing on the standards. I was when Steven moved to Sweden. I had finished showing Avatar Concord, and we had a son of his. Avatar Concord was a rather controversial dog in Sweden because of his size, but it was also totally exaggerated. But our breed standard is a bit different, and they only allow them up to a certain height, and then they're disqualified. The upper limit in standards is 62. Avatar Concord was measured out, and he was measured to 63 and a half and 64, and we had judges who threw him out, and he became the talk of the town because of that, because the dog had won groups, and he had really started way people. Well, we had people from other breeds. When I was showing that dog, people were coming up to the ring just to look at this dog. He was a very spectacular dog in many ways. He was
So
certainly
he's the
not.
dog that I think of when I think of you. So
Yeah,
like, there's no question, right? And
no,
there's always those dogs. So
of course.
yeah.
He made me famous, or made Avatar famous, and he was the start of the international reputation. To be honest with you, where it was unbelievable. And when his offspring started to win, that was back at the time when we had fax. And when I came home from work, there were
Yeah.
rolls of faxes from other breeders around the world who wanted to breed to him. So he was certainly the talk of the town.
Yeah.
But we then started his son, and he was co-bred by another friend of ours. But Stephen fell madly in love with this dog, and he also became a prominent producer and produced top standard dog in the US 2 years in a row, and winner's dog at PCA, and he was then used by my friend Nancy Wilson in Texas, and produced another dog that was the sire of the bitch you showed, Bonnie.
Princess Bonnie, we called her.
Absolutely, definitely Princess Bonnie, and she was of course. We had 4 bitches in that litter. She was one of the pick bitches. The other bitch I was sent to Australia, and she was top standard bitch in Australia. And we were supposed to keep a bitch from that combination, a male from that combination, but the bitches were so much better, and we ended up the 3rd pick bitch from that combination, and she was Sweden's top standard, and she was a world winner and a multiple best in show and group winner.
I remember when I first met Bonnie, Linda had asked me to come to the kennel to look at some dogs. I went to the kennel. We were looking at some puppies and dogs, and I kept seeing this black bitch go by. And I said, who's that? And that's Bonnie. We haven't shown her yet. Can I see her?
Yeah.
So they brought her out for me to see. I was like, she could go in my truck now, I said.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, she finished her championship, I remember, with the best in show under Elaine Whitney. And Elaine Whitney she's known for poodles in North America anyway.
Of course.
And I remember walking in the breed, and I remember seeing her eyes just looking at Bonnie. And I was in the open bitch class. And I was like, I think she likes her.
Yeah. You know that Elaine gave her sister a best in show in Sweden?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And Bob Whitney gave her the group.
I actually have an old calendar of Bonnie that Linda put together for me. But Linda or Catherine, I can't remember. Somebody put it together for me. But I automatically go to the Elaine Whitney picture because I just think it's a great picture. So.
Yeah. No, that bitch made me very proud. So thank you for that. I
had fun showing her. She was just one of those dogs that when you take one step and all of a sudden you can't feel them. It's like,
no.
It's exciting.
Yeah. No, she was actually one of our best. I personally think she was one of my own favorites.
Well, she was my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh well. So, what was next? So what was Concord's son's name that Stephen fell in love with?
His name was Anwick Avatar Sean Senair.
Okay.
And he went back to English stuff through the Topaz dogs. The Topaz dogs were fairly unknown, at least in Scandinavia back then. But there was an import that I really liked that came into Sweden, and we bought a black daughter of his and bred her to Concord. And that was the start of a lineage of both his sister, his sister, Chansonner's sister, Chantal, was another favorite and very close to the same look as Concorde and Chansonner and Vonnie. That look, in my opinion, comes from one of my foundation bitches that was named Avatar Biscaya. Avatar Biscaya was Concorde's mother. And that look, the look that I have become known from comes from Avatar Biscaya. She was a leggy, necky, very dramatic bitch, and I had several Americans trying to buy her from me, but she was not for sale. But Chansonner was definitely he was top standard in Sweden 1 year and Steven's favorite. So. We were searching high and low for a bitch to breed him to, but we just couldn't find anything in Europe for this dog, at least nothing that we thought would be suitable for him, because we both Stephen and I have always been fanatical when it comes to put type to type together, and we'd like to see the same phenotype in both the dog and the bitch, and we were searching and searching and searching, and we could not find anything. So at PCA 1 year, I think it was the open bitch class, and all of a sudden this bitch walks in, and she was shown by Shelley Hamilton, and funny enough, both Stephen and I stood up at the same time and pointed and said and looked at each other, there she is. And it proved that, it proved that she was owned and bred by Nancy Wilson in Texas. So when I looked at the catalog, I said to Stephen, oh, shit, because I had just turned Nancy Wilson down to breed to Concorde. So we had to do some work, but Nancy was just lovely to deal with, and she wouldn't part with the bitch because we wanted to lease her and bring her over to Sweden, but Nancy wouldn't part with her. So she was bred to, we sent semen over, and I think she had a litter of 6 or something like that, and we wanted the pick male. There was only one bitch, and we were also going to get the pick bitch, but since there was only one, we just said to Nancy, you can keep the bitch, and she kept the bitch, and we brought the pick dog over to Sweden. So that was our very important collaboration with Nancy Wilson, and we are still working together. We're still very good friends, and talk dogs on a regular basis. Phone calls for hours, pedigrees.
You love those ones.
Yeah, and Nancy has been a very true friend for nearly 20 years now, 25 years.
It's frightening when you think back and see how long actually things are.
Oh God, yeah, and time flies.
It sure does.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you judging standard poodles now?
No.
Not at all.
No, I haven't. I was about to get my judge's license in Sweden, but I'm one of those that are fortunate enough to have a hobby I love, but I also have a profession I happen to love, which means that, yeah. And since I work as a graphic designer and an art director, I have a very strong passion for that as well, and a communicator. I have a strong passion for that as well. So I was so busy with my career as a graphic designer, I never made room for getting my judge's license. We then moved to Spain, and I was hoping that I would get my license here. But I don't think that they really care that much about my background in poodles. The main criteria for me to become a judge in Spain was that I could speak Spanish fluently, and I can't. So So I decided no. I don't have to. I don't have to judge dogs. I mean, I judge dogs every time I see a dog, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I define myself as a breeder, and that's enough for me. And do I have more time? Do I have time to judge dogs? I don't think so. I'm here and there.
Anders, what if that phone rang though, and it was a national club and said, "We'd like to have you come over here and judge our national specialty"?
Yeah.
Well, would you do that?
Oh, I will come. I love to judge.
Hope someone's listening.
Yeah. No.
So I think that'd be incredible.
Yeah, no, I have, of course, judged. I was actually doing the sweepstakes at the Canadian Poodle National one year when Stephen was judging the regular classes, and I have judged Afghans in Australia. I have judged sweepstakes, that is, since I'm not licensed, and I've also judged a multitude of poodle open shows and unofficial shows in both. In all over Scandinavia.
Well, now that breeders can be invited to judge these national events, I would love to see you over here judging a national event. So, that'd be incredible.
Yeah.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah,
and it would be a memorable win for whoever won. So.
Yeah, well, it's. I think it's good that you have that. I wish that we could do that over here as well. I think it's important that we see more breeders out there judging, or at least for those who don't feel comfortable with it, that we educate them to feel comfortable.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be incredible. I'd love to come and watch you do that when that time comes.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see if it happens.
I'd love that.
And I'm of course used to the grooming shows. I've been grooming competitions. I've been judging them for close to 30 years now.
Yeah. Now, do you still give poodle seminars?
Oh God, yes, all the time. Yeah. I have just returned from Norway. I've had a breeders seminar there for the Norwegian Poodle Club, and I'm going to Australia next month to have a seminar there, but that will be about grooming.
That'll be where? I'm sorry?
It will be about grooming.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you do both. You breed seminars and grooming seminars then?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I do.
And you told me before we got on, you told me about a magazine you're doing now. You started when you turned 60.
Yeah, I know. I when I moved to Spain, I brought.
And I have to say, you got this total tan look, and I look like a pasty white Irish boy.
Yeah, right. Well, trust me, I'm normally very pale and very white, but we've had a fantastic summer as always. So I've been out in the sun.
Anyway, tell us about your magazine.
The magazines. When I moved here, I managed to get a job working for a media company down here that were doing magazines. One for Spain and one for Sweden about Spain. And I worked for that media company for 10 years until that company was sold. And there were 4 of us starting up our own business. And I was the youngest in the company. I was 60 and the others are a bit older than me. But we decided to start up our own magazine about Spain for Nordic people. So we're doing that now on a monthly on a monthly basis, and we also do a digital magazine online, and we also do news for Nordic people, so they can follow what is happening here in Spain. I mean, Spain is extremely popular among the Scandinavians. There are a lot of Scandinavians here that escape the Scandinavian winter to get some sun down here. So it's a lot of Swedes in particular. Well, there are a lot of Scandinavians overall.
Yeah, you look like you've summered well.
Yes, yeah.
So what's next for Avatar then?
What's next for Avatar? I am with breeding a bitch. Hopefully next week. It's a miniature poodle bitch. I have been so inspired by the miniatures the last couple of years. The variety as such was so. It was hit hard by the PRA, of course, and the quality went down. When I started out in miniatures, we had some fabulous dogs in Scandinavia. PRA was certainly a problem, and the quality and the variety was really suffering. And the breeders had to do something. They had to start talk to each other and start to do something about the quality, because there was barely anything to breed to. And when we got the DNA, things started to blossom, at least here and all over Europe. And I must say I've been so impressed by the breeders over here, the way that they have tackled the quality and tackled their breeding programs, and how they've tackled genetic problems and the dialogue to avoid these genetic problems, to develop the variety and bring the quality up. I've seen some fabulous dogs in this part of the world. I've seen them elsewhere, of course, but I think it's the miniatures here is the strongest variety easily in Europe, in my opinion, with some extremely talented breeders. And you know what it's like.
Sure.
If you don't have good breeders, the quality won't be there.
Right. And the new breeders tend to lean on the past breeders, but if they don't keep it up, it doesn't stay. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's why I have gone into the miniatures. I find it more inspiring than I struggle to. I'm sorry to say that, but I'm struggle with the standards. I don't have the same inspiration. I struggle to find dogs to breed to. And
do you think this is a downtime for standards at the moment?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sad to see the state that the breed is in. Yes, there is the odd good dog, but I also see a lot of mediocrity, and the breed shouldn't be there. If you have good breeders, they bring the quality up, and you also need to pay attention to health problems and temperament problems and stuff like that. And I just think that the standards have been suffering the last 10 years or maybe more, while I look elsewhere, because inspiration to me is key. I can't do a good job if I don't find dogs to breed to.
Sure.
And of course, you always have things to work with. You always have things to improve, and thankfully, I travel a lot. I see a lot of dogs, and I dare say that the standards overall, it doesn't matter where I seem to go, I just don't find what I get inspired by looking at. It's just a fact. while
I know it's the truth. I've had other conversations with other standard poodle people, and they'll say this exact same thing. So
yeah, and of course, I don't want to be. The judges here have a responsibility, and being in such a glamorous breed, presentation is not enough. There has to be more. Type, shape, balance. All of those things are key to our breed as well. But I do see a lot of mediocrity being highly rewarded, and while I see dogs in other breeds with some fantastic dogs, and they're just overlooked. Not that I don't want to promote my own breed, but understand me correctly here. Dogs should be worthy winners regardless of which breed they represent, and mediocrity should never win. Judges are there to reward excellence.
Yeah, but you see that in breeds over the years. You see a wave in there where they'll be strong and they'll hopefully come back after they bottom out. So
absolutely, totally, yeah. I totally agree with that.
I see it in my breeds all the time. So it's
a
trend that just happens.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm not sure what the cause is. You know, some of our breeds I think, because our handlers and presenters have gotten so talented over the years that they can make a silk purse out of a sow's ear at times.
Yeah,
they're not fooling everybody. You know, it's. But I'm just wondering if that's part of the problem. Are the breeders thinking, oh, they have produced something so well, because look how well it's doing, whereas it's just being presented to the point where it's winning a lot.
Yeah, but yes, of course, and a well-educated judge should be able to see through that.
That's right. It's a whole different story about judges' education, and we could have a whole new show about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I suppose this subject will never end. This will change, and it will go up, and it will go down. But I do find it inspirational when I see breeders do a good job, and when I get inspired looking at good dogs. That inspires me to do a better job as a breeder. And yes, to get back to your question, I am breeding a miniature poodle bitch next week from a new dog I've imported from Australia, together with two other colleagues or two other friends, one breeder in Finland and one in Norway, and I'm down here in Spain. So we are working together.
Oh, good. That'll be exciting. I hope we get to see the progeny of that then at some point somewhere. I like seeing Avatar prefixed animals in the ring. So
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. So let's see. I won't keep you then. One more question, Anders.
Yep.
If you could meet the 20-year-old Anders now, is there any advice or direction you'd tell him? You're going to Spain.
You mean advice to people now or?
Yeah, like if you met the 20-year-old Anders right now.
20-year-old Anders. A 20-year-old Anders, what advice would you give him? Is that what your question is?
Right, exactly.
Travel. That opens doors. See other dogs. Always look at dogs from a global perspective. Learn from breeders in other countries other than your own. Travel, go to nationals, go to where there's a lot of dogs, sit down and study. So many people have the urge to go to other countries to show dogs. But if you want to learn about dogs, sit down and study. Go over dogs, talk to breeders, go over dogs and just listen, learn.
That's good advice for everybody, Anders. Not just a 20-year-old Anders. That's good advice.
Well, I was fortunate enough to have people like that around me that that encouraged me to look at dogs elsewhere, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
Well, thank you, Anders. I appreciate your time and all your stories and wonderful interview. And you look great. The sun's doing you well,
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Will.
and I hope our paths cross somewhere.
Yeah, me too. I hope that as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Anders.
You are welcome, and I hope you don't have to edit too much of this. I've been here and there and everywhere.
No, I don't think so.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Anders. And without you in the next screen, I don't look so pale now. But thanks for everything. It was a great interview. If you like what you see here, make sure you press the like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget about the podcast, The Dog Show Drive, which comes out every week on Thursday. Take care, guys. See you soon.